MJF and Wardlow in the ring for an interview. MJF was wearing another jacket made out of Aunt Lola's comforter. And he's brilliant again, verbally, and the people are chanting, "Shut the f*** up," which doesn't get bleeped. Nothing gets bleeped on TNT. They will, over on Fox, they'll take out a minute of audio on SmackDown, but they won't bleep nothing here. But basically, MJF did the promo, and he talked to Brian Pillman Sr. and Milk looking up, and then, who am I kidding? And he's talking to Brian Pillman Sr. in hell, and the crowd's chanting "asshole." And he tells Pillman Sr. that if his son shows up in Queens, he's going to get massacred. And he gets a Pillman chant going, and he's about to close when Pillman's music hits. And, I was okay with this when MJF tells Wardlow, meet him up there. And Wardlow goes to the ramp, but of course, Pillman, being the resourceful babyface, is going to come in, misdirection play, come in from the back with a chair. And MJF shits and starts begging off, and Pillman's got fire, and Pillman goes to use the chair, and Wardlow grabs it and jerks it away. And at that point, the only critique I have on this segment, again, because this was good, and I'm so glad they're doing something with Brian, and he's carrying the ball. But right there, and Brian, you may have seen this, Wardlow jerks the chair away, and there he and Brian Pillman are looking at each other, and Pillman, "Oh, come on, then. Well, come on." And they jaw jack for 10 or 15 seconds. And then Pillman smacks Wardlow, and Wardlow charges him, but Pillman backs up and ducks and grabs the rope where Wardlow goes over the top. At that point, the slap and charge should have been quicker. It should have been jerk chair. Pillman turns around, sees the guy. "Well, fuck you, pal. Oh, I'm coming at you." And Pillman drops down and pulls the rope. It should have gone quicker, because to me, they lost some momentum when they were jaw jacking, and it wasn't Wardlow kind of looked like an idiot when all he did was stand there for 15 seconds after jerking the chair away, then getting slapped and then falling over the top rope. It should have been a little quicker. But otherwise, great piece of business. Pillman grabs the chair back that's been left in the ring. The heels are on the floor. MJF is pulling Wardlow back. And Brian once again looked like he's got some balls, and he came out and he did something about something. So overall, I thought, this is going well so far for both these guys. I don't know what you see.
Overall, I agree with you. I thought MJF was great here. I think the spot where MJF teases talking to heaven and then starts talking down, there's such a wonderful heel spot to get heat. So between that and insulting the woman that raised Pillman Jr. and insulting the mother of Pillman Jr. and insulting everything, including his conception, I think this is where you and I just will disagree. I think Pillman Jr. has not shown enough urgency and anger so far. He's been, to me, you don't want to play up to the fans in this situation. You want to get the guy that's saying shit about your family. And I think MJF's been doing great with that. I don't know if the Wardlow thing was Wardlow's fault or Pillman Jr.'s fault, but that's the only big critique. And again, I've liked this overall. I'm not saying I didn't.
He had more oomph this week because last week, as we mentioned, when we did the review, he had to stay there and be dressed down so long and punked out by Wardlow. This time he got in, and that's why I was saying that exchange needed to be quicker, because Brian does, when he comes in, needs to make some type of impact, show the people that he's standing up to this.
And I agree. He didn't make a mad dash for MJF. I mean, that's the thing. I think, based on everything that's been going on so far, he needs to show some anger. If this doesn't get him angry, what will?
Maybe, on this, instead of him coming in with the chair, he should have just come in to where he could actually plant MJF with one shot, plant him down in the corner, and then Wardlow could come in and distract him or whatever, because that was the one thing when he came in with the chair and MJF shits and drops and begs back in the corner, Brian had to do a little vamping to not hit him before Wardlow got back. So I agree with you that Brian needs to make more of an effort, more of an attempt, get closer even to getting his hands on MJF than he has been so far.
And I'll say this too, because it's kind of connected. I don't know if I would have done it right afterwards, but I'm glad they did in a sense, because at least we got more than just this angle. Because so often, and it's not just Cody Rhodes, but so often something happens, and then by the next segment, we moved on to a whole different universe. But after this, they went to the Pillman Jr. interview, and I thought that was good, and I think that was important to have on this show.
Yeah.
Because we still don't even know this guy, really, when it all comes down to it. So we're still getting to know him. The viewers are still getting to know him.
Yeah, and JR set it up really well, and realistically, it wasn't the scripted questions that the interviewers in the WWE ask, in quotation marks. He was talking to the guy, and he was a friend of his father's, and he's pepping him up. And he says, for the family's sake, we need to see somebody whip MJF's ass. And Brian got some emotion in it. He's well-spoken. And he told a story that, because of the dark side of the ring, because of everything that's gone on, people know is true, that he had a troubled and a rough upbringing and where he's come from and et cetera. He's using that. Without going through chapter and verse, he's referring to it and people know it and they know it to be true. So that kind of helps out. So again, I wrote 30 minutes in and everyone has been a professional except the pre-tapes in the back for a minute, whatever.
Oh, that doesn't count. Come on, you can't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then, we went to one of those immediately. We go to Officer Bar Brady in the back with Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, Dino Douche, and Dwarf Dong Sucker. And Jungle Boy started speaking. And you could hear him, and he had a little bit of conviction in his voice. And then Christian Cage jumped in and cut him off. I'm like, fuck, we might have heard something out of this guy for once. But they accept the match for Friday, and at least Christian Cage is a star. Jungle Boy looks great, but you've got Dino and the Dwarf in this picture, but at least it was a pre-tape. Then we go to the ring for in-ring introductions, no entrances. They're trying to save on time, get us some wrestling time in. They probably could have eliminated that previous pre-tape and give us entrances, but nevertheless, FTR with Tully Blanchard against Matt Sydal and Dante Martin. And we've been saying, where FTR? Why don't they? This is backwards booking, but at least they're doing it eventually. They never got an actual win, much less a number of them, even one over a underneath team on television before they immediately started in the main events. But now we're at least getting that. FTR wrestles a underneath babyface team to show what they can do, have a good match, and get over. And that's what they did. Love the more Midnight Express trunks. They must have got a deal on several pairs. But they were wrestling again. They did a flying head scissors, for fuck's sake. And the babyface is shown. They shined him up like a brand new penny. And then they did a tag team heat spot to cut Dante Martin off. And their work is aggressive and it's precise. And Punk there, he's been doing his homework. He called them the best tag team in the world. So he's not going to have to toe the party line and lie to people because he's his own man. He can actually say what he really thinks. They got heat on Dante Martin. He fought back, ducked and dodged, and made a hot tag. Imagine that. We actually saw one of those. And then fucking Sydal made the comeback and did some kind of double dives, him and Dante onto FTR. They went to a break. But when they came back, FTR had settled it down. They're using the abdominal stretch and the pull the arm for leverage. So that they can settle things back down and get another set of heat because they're going for this segment here. And then Dante Martin made a great blind tag. Sydal cross-bodied both FTR members, but Dante goes up to the top rope and jumps up and hits a 15-foot high missile drop kick onto both of them. So they both go down. That was a great spot. And this kid he's green and he needs a physique, but he's got tremendous athletic talent. And then he ended up making a fiery comeback. And this is where, remember I said the other day, God, who was it we were talking about? I said the babyface, it was Brian Pillman with Castor and Oil. What's their names?
The acclaimed,
Castor and Oil.
No.
But,
Castor and Bowens.
Well, whatever. Bivens, Bowen. Anyway, the point is, I said they needed a veteran with Brian to set up and feed for the comeback properly, which didn't happen there, but it did in this match. FTR set the comeback up and fed for it perfectly. And the pace was, this is how heels feed a comeback. And then they did a great false finish on a double pin. And then finally they suckered Dante Martin into chasing him around and lulled him into their fucking finish as he rolled in the ring. Boom, they caught the big rig, 1, 2, 3. They had a great match. They elevated Dante Martin. FTR got a good solid win because they're better than the other team. It's only taken 2 years, but they did it. Well, 1.5 years, but they did it. That was, again, we're almost 45 minutes in. Great show so far. What'd you think of that match before we go any further?
Really good match. Based on everything in the last few weeks, I'm not so sold anymore about Tully Blanchard and his circus ringmaster jacket as the manager. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. Good match. Dante Martin continues to impress. I'm glad we're getting to see a lot of him. He's one of those guys you keep seeing on TV. I'm not at all bothered by that. He's got a lot of potential. I hope they don't blow it with him. Dax is always great. There are so many wrestlers you don't like, wrestlers you like, that you hear the buzz about. This guy's the best. This guy's great. I swear to God, the most underrated wrestler in the entire business may be Cash Wheeler.
Yeah.
Everything he does looks fucking great. And he looks like a wrestler. And again, not taking anything away from Dax, big Dax fan, but the most underrated guy in the whole business may be Cash Wheeler. We need to see more of him.
And they just, it ups the professionalism level and the visual whenever you see these guys doing their thing. And so this show so far, everybody been professional.